my name is Kelly, and I do HR consulting for small businesses. I was in corporate HR for 15 years and decided to get out and start my own business because, quite honestly, I got into it initially to help people, and I wasn't doing that any longer. I didn't feel like I was a positive resource within an organization. So that's what I want to help small businesses do, is grow and learn from my experience. So I do a lot of compliance consulting, and then I also do recruiting projects for clients as well. So that's a little bit about me. Today we're going to talk a little bit about your corporate culture. So we've all heard culture, right? Everybody's heard that? How many of you guys know what it is and how to create it? Right? So most companies, they don't invest time into this, and then, they, 5 years down the line, they're like, really don't like where my culture's at. I need to fix my culture. Why? How did we get here? So starting in the beginning phases of your business to create your culture and really define it will help you in the long run be more successful. So another big piece of why it's important to define your culture is because of turnover. So last week we talked about turnover. Employee turnover, if you have brick and mortar or any kind of business that has employees, the cost of your turnover is more expensive than any other cost of business. And it's a hidden cost that you don't ever see. You'll wonder why you're spending so much money, but it's because when you have to hire a new person, you're taking time away from your duties to interview, post job ads, go through that whole process. Then when they're actually hired, you're taking away time from other people's jobs or even yours to train them properly. Or if you don't train them properly, that's probably why you're having turnover. But having a bad corporate culture can really increase your turnover costs. We've all left companies not because of the money, not because of the job duties, but just because we didn't like it there, right? We've all had that, and that's the culture. They say 90% of people don't leave a company because of the money. And we've all stayed in low-paying jobs because we liked where we worked, right? I know I have. Early in my career, and even later in my career, I stay somewhere because I like it, not because of what I'm getting paid. So if you have an employee leaving, telling you that they're leaving because of the money, unless it's a huge drastic, there was something other than money that made them start looking for a job, right? For a new job. So what is culture? And how do we create it? So culture are beliefs and behaviors that determine how companies, employees, and management interact and handle outside business transactions and inside business transactions too. So it's how you interact. What are your beliefs? How do you deal with your customers? How do you treat your employees? All of that is your culture, okay? So for example, how many of you guys asked an employee here where this room was? Okay, and how many of you guys got a great professional customer service response? I know I did. So obviously that's their culture. Customer service is number one here. And you can tell that right off the bat. Most car sales lots you go to, you're kind of hiding, you don't want anybody to talk to you, right? That vulture car salesman is gonna come out and get you. But they didn't do that. They obviously approached you here, but they didn't, they were very friendly and customer service oriented rather than sales oriented, okay? So that's obviously their culture here. It was easy to pick up really quickly. The other piece of their culture here that you can pick up very quickly was appearance. Appearance is very important. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when I noticed it immediately is every person looks very clean cut, very presentable, and all wearing the exact same uniform. Okay? So how do you create culture? Most of the time, culture is created accidentally or organically. Or you can intentionally create it. So accidentally or organically means you don't do anything to define it. You go about, you hire Joe, you hire Susie, you hire James, and they together create the culture. Their personalities, their embodied, how they work, how they treat people, that creates the culture. Or you can intentionally create it. And by doing that, you are going to hire employees who share your beliefs and behaviors. Okay? So intentionally creating it, meaning you are going to define what you want as your culture, and then you're going to hire those people with those traits. So how do you define it? So it's going back to your vision and mission statements, just like David said. We all need to have vision and mission statements within our businesses. And I know a lot of you guys didn't raise your hands that you have them, but they're very important, and that's going to define who you are as an organization and a company. Okay, so what are your vision and mission statements? I know we talked a little bit about this already, but your mission statement is your company or business objectives and current methods to reach its objectives. So your what and your who, okay? And your vision statement is your desired future position of the company. So your whys and your hows, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? So your vision is your overall wide-reaching, and your mission is your current methods, all right? So then you want to hire employees who match those vision and missions, okay? How many of you guys have a vision to grow your organization to 50 employees or more? Okay. And how many of you guys have a vision to be a solopreneur or to have, 5 employees? Okay. So those are completely different types of organizations, right? So those who want to grow substantially, that's the type of trait that you need to find, that you need to screen for. And those who don't want to grow, and only have a couple of employees who are going to be doing the same repetitive tasks for 10 years, you need to find and define those types of traits. Does that make sense? Why those are two vastly different organizations and why those would attract different types of people, right? So that is why it's so important to define your vision and your mission, and then look for people who match those traits, and to screen for that during your hiring process. Okay. So, for example, you would want to ask questions during your interviewing process about, their. I wrote a note and I forgot my wording. Sorry, forgot my wording. Versus innovativeness. So, if somebody's highly innovative, they will probably match more with that growth company, right? Where if they're, a receptionist that likes to do things by task and likes to do the same thing day after day, you're kind of probably matched with that other. So, asking questions about how they think outside the box and how innovative they are will help you kind of figure out that cultural fit, okay? But it's very important that you define those visions and missions way ahead of time. So again, to get from your mission to your culture, you're going to define your vision and mission. You're going to hire employees who are a fit. So if you don't know what it is, you're never going to be able to find the people who match it. And then that's how you're going to intentionally create your culture, okay? And keep employees longer and reduce your turnover. So in your pamphlets, in your worksheets, we have some sections on under the HR. We have how to create a vision statement, how to create a mission statement, and then you want to list out employee traits that are fit and needed, and then create a plan to acquire those missing traits. So, and that's what I do during my interviewing and my hiring processes. Is I sit down and I interview those hiring managers. Tell me what traits are important. Tell me, where you see this position in the next few years. Tell me what you're looking for. And that's how I interview, and that's how I find the right fits, because the fit is the most important piece of that hiring and recruiting process. Like I said, you can we spend more time at work than anywhere else, and if you're not a fit with that team, you're not going to stay there. So that's the most important piece. It's like I used to hire front desk associates. Okay, I can teach anybody how to man a computer, right? For the most part, I can teach anybody how to deal with that computer, but can I teach somebody good customer service skills, right? So that was a huge piece for that position, is they had to have great customer service skills right off the bat. So a great way to, sometimes you have to use in interviewing, just to get a little segue, interviewing, sometimes you have to use reverse psychology to see how people think. So a great way to define customer service skills is ask somebody about somewhere that they went that had great customer service. Because if you are a person that values customer service, you will be able to define it. If you don't give a crap about customer service, you won't notice it anywhere you go, right? I'm a huge believer in customer service. It's number one in my book. So anywhere I go, that's the one thing I notice. That's the first thing I noticed when I got here. When I go to a restaurant, when I go anywhere, I notice the customer service. And so somebody during an interviewing process, if you ask them, tell me about somewhere where you've had amazing customer service, and tell me about somewhere where you've had horrible customer service, they're going to be able to define that, and that'll tell you what they believe is great customer service. So, okay? So that's just a little bit about culture within your organization. Any questions? Yes, Chris, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you do when you have people who told you that they have these feelings about what you do, and then you eventually see that they were completely lying
Exactly.
just to get the work?
Yeah, obviously, yeah, and that's the thing.
Because that happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Recruiting is not a perfect science. People are not, you can ask the perfect questions and still get somebody who's a chameleon. Again, I believe in behavioral-based interviews, asking for tell you about how they handle that situation, because even if they BS how they would, even if they're creating something, they're creating it and how they would handle it, right? So that gives you a lot more insight into somebody, but it's never perfect science. And I tell people, as soon as you notice that person's not the right fit, cut your ties as quickly as you can. I've met so many managers that 6 months down the line, well, I knew they were going to be a problem, but I felt bad letting them go. And now you have this huge issue because, she's tardy for the 10th time, but then just told you yesterday she's pregnant. And, and then you have all these other nightmarish issues. So as soon as you think somebody's not the right fit, go with your gut. And that's the other piece when it comes to hiring. It's not scientific, it's not anything, it's go with your gut. 9 out of 10 times. If you feel bad, if you feel something's not right, don't move forward. Plain and simple. So, yes, sir.
So I have a follow-up to that answer you just gave. What is the proper legal way to say that you're going with your gut in order to avoid problems?
Terming or hiring?
Take your pick.
Either,
hiring. Hiring is a little easier because you just don't have to say anything. But
right.
It's terminating.
Terminating.
What's the proper way, the legal way to say I'm going with my gut? It doesn't feel right.
Yeah. So we're in at-will state, number one. So the sooner you do it, the better, so that they don't really have any real legal recourse. That's my number one. We're in at-will state. You honestly don't ever have to say anything. But I would tell somebody, I would say, you don't seem happy here. Period. And
because if you say nothing, they always ask.
Correct. Well,
So
and it's kind of like
it's nice to give them a why.
kind of like a relationship. If you get broken up with by somebody and they don't tell you why, you're digging through everything to figure out why, right? Internally, we've all been broken up with, right? And you're like, why? It's the same thing on the employment spectrum. If somebody ends an employment relationship with you and fires you and doesn't tell you why, you're going to find a reason. And normally those reasons are because, you're over 40, you're, a woman, you're pregnant, you're this, that, whatever. It's some sort of protected class. If you tell them why, and I would say prior to that, send yourself emails of documentation. Especially if it's early and you don't need to do those corrective actions, it's still within the 90 days. Send yourself emails so that you can print it and put it in their file. And so that you can, if you were ever questioned, you can come back and say, well, these are the little things I noticed. because it's a gut thing, but it's also, there are things that they're probably not doing, that you're taking it to a gut thing, but they're just not doing their tasks, they're not, you know, customer service related, they're not friendly, they're not, there's something there.
Okay.
Like, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you guys.